People who work in IT, what's the wildest thing you've discovered while at work? I worked IT at a small high school called Riverside Academy. The principal kept bugging me about slow internet in the teacher's lounge. She called me 3 times in 1 week saying the Wi-Fi was terrible, and teachers couldn't even check their email. I figured it was probably the old microwave interfering with the signal, or maybe their cheap router was dying. Nothing too crazy. But when I went to check the network, I noticed something weird. There was a new device connected called Voices Whopper 1. I'd never seen that name before. I pinged it and got a response, which meant it was active. I tried to SSH into it but couldn't get access, so I fired up a network sniffer to see what kind of traffic it was sending. The packets weren't normal web traffic or file transfers. They were audio packets. Live audio streaming from somewhere inside the school building. My stomach dropped. Someone was broadcasting sound from inside our school, and I had no idea who or why. It took me 3 hours to trace the signal through our network. The trail led me to a maintenance area above the janitor's closet. I had to crawl through this tiny space with dust everywhere, following Ethernet cables. That's when I found it. Hidden behind some old insulation was a Wi-Fi camera disguised as a smoke detector. But this wasn't just recording video. It had a tiny directional microphone attached, pointing straight down at the hallway below. Someone had been listening to conversations in our school. I ripped it out immediately and started checking other areas. I found 4 more devices. One in the girls' locker room hidden behind a vent. Another in the staff meeting room taped under a table. Even one in the nurse's office stuck behind her computer monitor. I collected all the evidence and called the school board that same day. They started an investigation but told me not to say anything to anyone until they figured out who was responsible. A week later, our janitor, Kevin, quit out of nowhere. No 2 weeks notice. Just left a typed note on the principal's desk saying he was moving out of state for family reasons. He cleaned out his closet and disappeared. Everyone assumed Kevin was the creep who planted the cameras. Case closed, right? Wrong. The next month, the Wi-Fi device came back online. This time it was called Voices 2, and it was broadcasting from somewhere outside the school property. I immediately set up a fake signal trap to trace the new location. The signal was coming from an apartment building across the street from our school. I called the police and they got a warrant that same day. When they raided apartment 3B, they found something that made my blood run cold. An entire wall covered with external hard drives. Dozens of them, all labeled with folders containing teacher names and student names going back 5 years. The man who lived there wasn't Kevin the janitor. His name was Paul Chen, and he was the contractor who had installed our fire alarm system 3 years ago. He'd used that access to plant cameras throughout the building. The police found thousands of hours of recorded conversations, teachers discussing personal problems, students talking about family issues, even private meetings between the principal and parents about disciplinary actions. Paul had been selling this information to divorce lawyers, private investigators, and anyone willing to pay for dirt on school staff and families. I had to testify in court about how I discovered the network intrusion. Paul got 15 years in prison. Kevin the janitor was completely innocent and came back to work the next semester. The school installed new security protocols and I got promoted to head of IT security.